science teacher, as the director of MAD Science, which is educational science for children, as the director of West Coast Connection, which is a travel camp for students that travels around the world, and as owner and director of a children's summer camp in New York State called Camp Chattagay. So I've been working with kids my whole life, and camp has been a big part of forming who I am, but so was Albert. Albert, although it was for 1 year, it really transformed me. And it gave me a lot of the abilities and life learning skills that I needed for what I was going to experience in my life. So, as a camp director, responsible for 300 children and 175 staff, I got a phone call on July 14, 2006. I believe it was July 14. And it was the worst phone call I had ever experienced, because it was a parent of one of my campers. These campers grew up at Camp Chattagay for 12 years at that time. 3 boys, their family, they were going through a massive amount of turmoil because their mother was in the hospital. That she had gone to get an MRI, and in order to do it, they had to inject iodine. And so she had an allergic reaction to the iodine, and she was going into a coma. So, and I still feel it. It was really, really impactful. I had to tell these boys that their mother was sick. I couldn't tell them anything else. They got home, and an hour later she passed. So this family, I used to have dinners with them. We would go water skiing together. This was family, right? This was a very, very difficult situation for a camp director. Not an hour later, I get the news that the attacks in Nice, France occurred, where people were mowed down by a reckless terrorist driving a van. Some of the parents, some of the children at Camp Chattagay had parents that were in Nice at the time. With social media, people knew about what was going on immediately. The camp started going into meltdown. Can you imagine? 300 kids and 175 staff. And it's my job to keep everyone calm. So, bring everyone to a campfire. Actually, the eldest kids I brought to the campfire. The youngest, we kept at an activity. The oldest came to a campfire, and around the campfire, we talked about life, we talked about death, we talked about terrorism, we talked about the facts of life. This was, by far, the most difficult conversation I've ever had to have as a camp director, because this is my fun place, right? This is my place where I'm supposed to shine, and I'm supposed to laugh, and I'm supposed to get on the tables and on the chairs, and I'm singing, and I'm dancing, and I'm clapping, and I'm screaming, because that's what you do as a camp director. You don't talk about death and terrorism. And yet, here I am. I have to have this conversation. This is definitely the worst day of my life and my most favorite place on earth. What prepared me for this was places like Albert.College and camp. Because I was able to learn life learning skills that I wasn't even aware of at the time. And you have no idea what's going on right now with the building of your own character. You'll only notice it later. But this place transforms you because it gives you that ability to deal with conflict, to deal with issues. How many of you are skiers or snowboarders? Okay, so I used to run ski camps up at Mount Hood in Oregon and at Blackcomb Lake. And by the way, I used to be a professional ski instructor in Whistler, British Columbia, and ski patrol. So skiing has been my life. I used to race, not very well, but I used to have a lot of fun. Anyway, so as I was running these ski camps, we had a skier, snowboarder, who took a jump, landed, and he was writhing in pain. He was screaming. So as a ski patrol, my senses kick in, and I go to palpate his abdomen, and I feel firmness. That tells me there's internal bleeding. So I get on the radio, and we dispatch the helicopter. And the helicopter comes, and we are now in a situation where we need to get this child into the helicopter, get him down, get him to the ambulance, get him to the hospital. Because we don't know what's going on, right? Now, it's a pretty scary event that's going on here. So by the time we get to the hospital, the doctors had realized that he had ruptured his spleen. And he had to have surgery immediately. So I had to call the father, and we had to make sure that everyone was on board with the surgery. It wasn't elective surgery, this is emergency, life-threatening surgery. Father says, do whatever you have to do, I completely trust you, Dove, go ahead. He was hours south in Seattle. He took a plane, he met me at the hospital in Vancouver. He gave me this massive hug. This man doesn't know me. I was the director of the ski program. I was responsible for his child. But he gave me this massive hug. He thanked me profusely because I was there to help support his family in a time of need. So this is what I would call leadership, right? You've got to be a leader in a situation like that, which is so critical to the welfare and the health of a child. So a lot of that leadership I learned here. I learned it here by working together in groups, by raising awareness, raising money for charity, right? You think about the 5 A's at Albert, well, those were all encompassed in me while I was here. So it's our responsibility as youth services professionals to ensure the safety of our students, whether we're teachers or whether we're parents. Our obligation is to always support a child in need. That's something that was instilled in me as a camp director. What happens when you combine fire and ice? Well, Fire and Ice is actually a name of a show that I used to run for Mad Science. And it's a very big science spectacular. Very exciting, very dramatic, very colorful. So Mad Science does very entertaining, what we call edutainment, educational entertainment, science for children. We make it exciting. That's what Mad Science does. So I created a spectacular, used that creative side of me, and I developed a show at a theater with the big curtains and big, beautiful auditorium seating, and we did this massive spectacular on a stage. And kids came up and they did science experiments, they did hands-on experiments, experiential learning was in play. And what I love about experiential learning is that as you're doing something, you're experiencing it and you see it live. So whether you're combining dry ice and other liquids to create effects, or you're actually burning metals to create color, you are actually teaching children science. And to me, that was very exciting because it's another way of teaching, it's another way of connecting with children. And students, connecting with students for me has always been a big part of my life, as you can tell from 30 years of experience. I've worked in 4 different countries on 3 different continents with children of all ages, primarily 6 through 18. So these illusions that we created, whether they were with polymers or whether they were with any kind of materials put together, it really connected me to the kids. It really gave me a sense of fulfillment, something that I just never experienced anywhere else. I'm not a corporate guy. I don't walk into work wearing a suit and tie. I am really overdressed today. All right, I'm in ripped jeans and a t-shirt. That's my life. So, you know, for me, having the opportunity to connect with kids on any level is always really important. This role as a science teacher and as director of Mad Science really taught me that our roles as teachers and directors are critical, very important in helping our students grow up and develop life learning skills, and also very rewarding. So for me, this was an absolute incredible experience. It was also a life-changing moment. So I put this up, I can't really see it. Find a group of people So this is so true. You spend enough time here with these people and you make connections with them and memories that are going to last a lifetime. And you're going to do things with people in your groups, whether you're in Graham Hall or you're at a meal or you're doing an activity or you're doing an event. And I say Graham because I live there. Right? So, anytime you're with a big group, you're going to have an opportunity to develop friendships that will last forever, and which is really cool because we have the alumni reunion in the spring, and I've been in contact with many of my alumnus, and we're all very excited to come back. So yes, you're going to unfortunately have to see me again. I'm sorry. So having this opportunity to be together is quite unique. It's quite rare. You're very privileged, so take advantage of that and enjoy your time while you're at Albert. Because nothing else is going to replace it. Camp doesn't replace it. Camp was a place where I could be myself. I could be more myself at camp than any other place in the world. And I didn't realize I wanted to own a camp until my first summer. So I'm 12 years old, I get back from camp, and I tell my mom, after she said, "Bear, how was your summer at camp?" I said, "Great, I'm going to own a camp one day." And she looked at me with that look, like, okay. Now when I tell that story, she gets a little embarrassed because she should have listened to her son for once. So camp changed my life. It gave me perspective. It allowed me to build different types of confidence and social esteem in ways that I couldn't do anywhere else. Albert did the same for me. Albert gave me the opportunity to develop resilience so I could deal with issues, I could deal with problems. And when the times are dark or when the times are light, if you have the resilience and you have the confidence, you can do anything. You, right now, have the opportunity and the power to do what you want and to be what you want. This is your time. I'm a little envious, actually. So, camp was my foundation, right? I built a lot of moxie, I became who I am, a confident young man, because of my experience at camp. Camp and Albert are very, very similar in many ways. Because at camp, you're working and living with large groups of people, and at Albert, the same, right? A little bit more intense here because it's a full year of your life, or more. At camp, it's 7 weeks or 8 weeks. So here, you can grow that much more. Camp was definitely a place where I connected with kids on a very different level. Because at Albert, you're focusing mostly on your 5 A's, and your academics is a huge part of that, right? And at camp, we don't focus on academics, we focus on fun. Right? We also push comfort zones. We go a little bit beyond our limits in a safe way, and that's where the magic happens. But that magic also happens here. Right? Push yourself beyond your limits just a little bit in a safe environment while people are watching, listening, and guiding you, and that's where the growth really happens. So sometimes we got to get out of our comfort zones to break through to the other side where we can actually grow and believe in ourselves. So, love that hair. Wish I had that hair now. Not the style, just the hair. So, when I came to Albert, the 5 A's didn't mean anything to me at the time until I started going through it all. I'm not a creative guy, I'm not very artistic, I'm terrible with a paintbrush, but you know what? I tried things that I would normally never do. So I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys still do this, but we had Albert at the beach. Do you still take everybody and go to the beach? No? I don't blame it. It was really cold, it was really miserable, it was really bad. But we had a lot of fun, we made the best of it. And we had a sandcastle building competition, and Graham won. So the prize was the headmaster had to deliver breakfast in bed. Mr. Miska, you don't have to do that. But if you guys want to encourage that tradition to come back, I'm just saying, it's a good idea. So milestones define our lives, and we have a lot of great milestones beginning from a very young age. I learned at 12 what it was like to feel proud. I committed to doing what was honorable whenever I was in a position to do so, because that's the character that has been instilled in me from camp, from Albert.College, and from my career paths and my career choices. I've done things in my life that I am very proud of, and a lot of it is because I've become very comfortable in my own skin, and I don't allow things to really bother me. I do what I need to do. I support my family. I finally got married 3 years ago, which is a miracle in itself. And I wanted to be a ski instructor. I became a ski instructor at one of the premier ski resorts in the world, Western British Columbia. I wanted to be a race car driver. I didn't become a race car driver, but I became a race car instructor. I teach high-performance driving as a hobby to people who have luxury sports cars or exotic sports cars for the BMW Club. So I followed my dreams, I followed my passions, and these life-changing moments have been very impactful for me and all those around me. So I decided to, in 2008, create the CHAMP Foundation. The CHAMP Foundation is it's an opportunity, well, it's a not-for-profit which sends children to summer camp who live below the poverty level. So kids who can't afford to go to camp, we raise money through private and public donation to send 75 children every year. CHAMP is an acronym. Camp Holiday, C-H-A-M-P. Camp Holiday for athletic and motivated pupils. So we give students the opportunity to attend summer camp if they do well in school, show improvements in school, and stay involved in athletics. How did I come up with this idea? 5 A's, Albert.College. So I attribute the CHAMP Foundation to my time at Albert.College, also because Albert.College instilled into me how important it was to give back to our communities. And also, my father was a very big promoter of that idea. So between my father and Albert, I thank all of you for that idea and that encouragement. So the CHAMP Foundation now sends children to summer camp, and then the following year, the scholastic year, so beginning in September, all of the students who went on the summer camp during the summer before can earn a fully paid for attendance at summer camp the next year, which is a 4-week program rather than a long weekend. They have to continue doing well in school, they have to continue showing improvement, and they have to continue with some kind of athleticism. So the CHAMP Foundation encourages students to do well in school and to stay physically active. So that's what we do at the CHAMP Foundation. And the CHAMP Foundation, I started after the CHAMP Foundation ran for 12 years, I started Connect You. Connect You is a company that specializes in matching students with summer camps and experiences around the world, whether it's pre-college or summer camps, whatever, language study, community service programs. So my life has always been about working with kids. And the greatest part about working with kids was to ensure their physical safety and their emotional safety to watch them grow. And I learned a lot of that at camp, and I learned some of that at Albert. So I thank Albert.College for giving me the courage, enthusiasm, the 5 A's, and a love for working with large groups of people.